Hello, and welcome to part one of a series of videos that I'll be making, developing the world building of this sci-fi project that I've been working on for quite a long time now. So the plan with these videos is to give you an idea of what this whole project is about, and I will do that by presenting all the factions in my world and characters, places, history, and so on. The goal of this project is to eventually make a TV show from it, or maybe a game, but that will probably be a long-term goal. It won't be anytime soon. So for now, let me present to you part one of Galactic Nation. We begin in the year 2064. Humanity, after enduring years of devastating conflict and a long, agonizing recovery, has finally reached a fragile but enduring peace. In this new era, the foundations of a unified global authority emerge, the United Earth Nations, or the UEN. Formed from the collective will of most nations, the UEN is established to guide humanity towards a shared future, one that extends beyond Earth itself. With unity comes ambition, and that ambition turns toward the stars, beginning with our own solar system. The first major step is a series of missions to the moon, culminating in the construction of humanity's first permanent lunar base, Terminus 1. This outpost quickly becomes the central hub for further exploration, serving as a launch point for expeditions to Mars and the distant moons of Titan and Europa. A primary objective of the UEN is to secure vital resources to support Earth's recovery and growth. Titan, rich with vast seas of hydrocarbons and other valuable materials, becomes a key target for extraction and development. At the same time, these efforts lay the groundwork for humanity's greater aspiration to expand beyond the solar system. By establishing new civilizations on nearby worlds, humanity not only increases its population and resilience, but also takes its first decisive steps toward becoming an interstellar species. 12 years later, a mysterious object is detected crashing into the solar system. Initially believed to be a UFO, its sudden trajectory and violent entry prompt an immediate investigation. A specialized team is dispatched to intercept and study the anomaly, an encounter that would ultimately reshape the course of civilization. Upon arrival, the team discovers that the object is not a craft, but an asteroid unlike any ever recorded. Embedded within it are luminous crystals radiating an intense pearl-white glow. Samples are recovered and transported back for analysis. Years of research reveal a discovery beyond comprehension, a new element, unlike anything on the periodic table. This substance possesses the ability to be transformed into any other element. The implications are staggering. Resource scarcity becomes obsolete, and technological advancements accelerate at an unprecedented rate. With this breakthrough, humanity's expansion across the solar system surges forward. By the year 2102, after decades of colonization efforts, spanning planets and moons, Earth faces a new and pressing crisis. Its population has grown beyond the sustainable limits of every nation. In response, the United Earth Nations initiates a global relocation program, encouraging civilians to resettle in off-world colonies to stabilize conditions on Earth. The decision is deeply controversial. For many, the prospect of abandoning their home planet, everything that they've ever known, is unthinkable. While some volunteer for the journey, drawn by opportunity or necessity, others are compelled to leave against their will. The resulting tension fuels widespread unrest, and the struggle to manage Earth's population continues for decades, only beginning to stabilize in 2135. By the year 2180, humanity enters a new age of peril. Across Earth, increasingly violent and unpredictable weather systems tear through entire regions, leaving devastation in their wake and claiming countless lives. In their aftermath, strange phenomena begin to appear. Vast stretches of land reduced to lifeless fields, smothered in black ash, as though the planet itself was beginning to fail. As conditions worsen, evacuations accelerate. Civilians are transported off-world in growing numbers, bound for the moon and distant colonies, as Earth's decline becomes impossible to ignore. Amid the chaos, another refuge rises to prominence: a vast artificial island in the English Channel, home to a fortified city known as Utopia. Constructed in the early days of solar expansion by the United Earth Nations, Utopia was originally designed as a staging ground for colonization. Its inhabitants trained and prepared for life beyond Earth. Isolated from the coasts of both England and France, the island is encircled by immense walls, towering like skyscrapers, sealing it off from the collapsing world beyond. But as the global crisis deepens, Utopia's purpose changes. No longer just a gateway to the stars, it becomes a sanctuary, the last stronghold for those who remain. In time, it would become known as the last city on Earth. Meanwhile, far from the dying planet, the colonies begin to turn inward, with Earth struggling to sustain itself. Support from off-world dwindles. Mars is the first to act, declaring independence and forming the Martian Republic. Seeking to preserve its stability, it closes its borders, refusing further immigration from Earth. Soon after, the moons of Titan and Europa follow suit. Each recognizes the opportunity and necessity of self-preservation. Rich in resources, Titan establishes the Titan Federation, while Europa, sustained by its vast reserves of water, forms the Europa Union. Both factions move toward economic independence, at times even profiting from Earth's desperation, while prioritizing the protection of their own populations. These new powers create a fragile and uneasy balance. Tensions rise as each faction weighs its survival against the fate of Earth, a planet they still depend on for critical resources, even as it collapses. In the end, the chaos begins to subside, not because the crisis is resolved, but because there is little left to lose. Those who could be saved have been evacuated, and humanity endures, scattered across the moon's expanding network of bases and within the fortified sanctuary of Utopia, the last remnants of civilization on a dying world. The year 2180 marked the end of widespread chaos on Earth, but peace was short-lived. By 2181, a new crisis emerged, this time beyond Earth, known as the Titan population crisis. It began when several Martian colonies suffered severe water shortages, forcing large numbers of civilians to abandon their homes. Many chose to resettle on Titan, Saturn's distant moon. As the farthest major colony from Earth, Titan offered significantly lower living costs. Within the solar economy, value was determined largely by distance from Earth, which remains the most expensive place to live. For desperate Martian refugees, Titan represented opportunity and survival. However, as migration continued over the following years, tensions began to rise. Titan's native population grew increasingly hostile towards the influx of Martians, whose presence strained resources, destabilized the economy and pushed population levels beyond what local governments could sustain. Political divisions deepened, and rival sub-factions began to form across the moon. As unrest escalated into widespread riots, a single defining event ignited full-scale civil war, an event that would ultimately serve as the prelude to the First Solar War. In 2187, amid this growing instability, the United Earth Nations invited the leaders of all major factions to Earth to witness a groundbreaking experiment. Scientists had begun testing a method of fusing the newly discovered element, also known as coricium, with itself, an achievement that promised limitless energy. If successful, it would end resource scarcity and allow humanity to move forward as a unified civilization. At first, the experiment appeared to proceed as planned, but moments later, warning signals flooded the laboratory as the coricium reaction became violently unstable. As the attending leaders were urged to evacuate, a sudden implosion occurred. A black sphere flickered into existence, consuming everything within its reach, before vanishing without a trace. Every leader present was lost, absorbed instantly, except for a single surviving witness, a young boy, left traumatized by what he had seen. Panic spread throughout the UEN, with the deaths of multiple faction leaders occurring on Earth's soil. The political consequences were immediate and severe. In their official statement, the UEN declared that a Martian-aligned faction from Titan had sabotaged the experiment in a deliberate act of aggression. In 2188, the UEN formally declared war on the Martian-backed factions on Titan, claiming it was necessary to restore order and support the native population, thus beginning the First Solar War. Earth deployed a large fleet to Titan, launching a ground invasion against resistance-controlled regions, those aligned with Martian interests. The conflict dragged on for over a year, with neither side gaining a decisive advantage. Meanwhile, the war disrupted Titan's trade networks, causing ripple effects across the solar system and increasing tensions among the other factions. At the same time, Mars continued to struggle with its worsening water crisis. Reluctant to rely on Earth, Martian leadership turned instead to Europa, seeking a trade agreement for access to its vast water reserves. Europa refused, judging that Mars could offer little of sufficient value in return. Desperation led Mars to take more aggressive measures. In coordination with its allied factions on Titan, Mars initiated covert operations against Europa, sabotaging infrastructure and attempting forced extraction of water. These actions were eventually uncovered. In response, the Europa Union imposed severe sanctions on Mars and shut down the operations entirely. As a result, relations between Earth and Europa began to strengthen. Both now viewed Mars and the unstable situation on Titan as growing threats to their security. Determined to end the conflict, Earth launched a second, more focused campaign on Titan. This time, their forces made significant progress, but Mars refused to abandon its allies. Entering the war directly, Mars escalated the conflict into a full-scale interplanetary war. Europa soon faced internal division of its own. Some factions saw an opportunity to profit by supplying water to Mars, but the dominant leadership rejected these proposals. When Mars once again attempted to seize the water by force, Europa responded decisively, joining the war alongside Earth. By this point, the conflict had engulfed the entire solar system. The First Solar War was in full swing. The war finally came to an end in 2192, In its aftermath, the solar system entered a fragile period of peace, as each faction struggled to recover from the devastation. But the wounds of the conflict ran deep, and distrust lingered. For 30 years, tensions simmered beneath the surface, until in 2222, they erupted once more. Earth and Mars entered into a second solar war. It is during this renewed conflict, several years into the war, that the story truly begins, following a young man shaped by the violence of this fractured system, who may ultimately decide its future. Okay, so before the video ends, I just want to leave some final thoughts. So the images used in this video, most of them they're not mine. That's probably quite obvious, except for the last two at the end. Those are two of my bits of artwork. But also, when I came up with this idea, the story of the idea, or just the idea, you know, yeah, I had no real inspiration at the time. It just came to me, and but over the years, after watching films and TV shows like Dune, the recent Dune films, Star Wars, The Expanse, especially that show, yeah, and there's loads of other inspirations out there that I've gotten, but because of those films and TV shows, it's really helped shape this story and the world. And maybe you guys might be able to help me find some more inspiration or things similar to this that I might enjoy watching. And the last thing is, I would love to hear back from all of you. If there's anything you'd like to see next, or maybe you have a question that you want to let me know about, just obviously go in the comments section and you can type it out to me. But apart from that, yeah, thank you for watching, really. I hope to see you guys next time, whatever that may be. See ya.